What's going on, everybody? It's Darian, and today I'm going to be talking about an image that's been going around the internet right now. It went viral for a bad reason. It was a Navy commander who was recently relieved of his duty over a very embarrassing image to not only the military but the Navy specifically. And if you haven't seen it, it's obviously on the thumbnail, so you click the video, you're probably aware of it, and if you were not, you are now. So the image is real, it's not doctored, although there is a doctored version of somebody who's bragging about making or recreating that through AI, which is very funny. But just my take on it, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. AR-15s, AR-10s, or those type of rifles are obviously what my channel is, I wouldn't say built on. I'm built on just being me, but I actually love those firearms. I build a lot of them. I own a lot of them. There's one behind me right here, and there's a lot more behind this camera. But I want to talk about this. I'm a retired Navy veteran. I'm currently a police officer, and obviously being around firearms was a part of my job, active duty, as well as currently right now as a law enforcement officer. I want to talk about some stuff, and if you clicked on this video, it's because you already like what I'm about to say, or you're very curious what I'm about to say from my perspective, and here it goes. So I wrote some notes down to make sure I covered what I'm about to say. So obviously the Navy image is very bad. Let's just say that. It's a very bad image. I know I sure as hell would not want to be caught with an image of me looking like a jack asshole for the whole world to see and be dead serious.
Nope.
So, what's wrong with it? I think there's another image that just says bruh, 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 WTF all over it, with people highlighting and circling things of that image. So I'm going to pull up the image for myself and actually speak about it. You will probably see it on the screen right now, and I'll be zoomed into certain parts of it. So the very first part I want to talk about is his elbow. So a lot of people talk about, okay, let me back that up.
What?
First thing I'm going to talk about is the scope. That's the first thing I got to talk about. So that's obviously why he got relieved of his duties for loss of confidence. Confidence in what? Confidence to shoot a rifle? Confidence to know you look like a clown? Or just lost in confidence because you clearly aren't leading a good warship because they handed you a rifle, which I'll get into that in a second. So the very first part of the image that I want to talk about is the scope itself. When I first saw it, I instantly was like, damn, that doesn't look right.
Nope.
Just visually. And then I looked closer, I was like, that shit's backwards. And I instantly knew it was backwards. Me looking at it right now, I don't know who it is, Schmidt and Bender, somebody. It's obviously an LPVO, low power variable optic. It could be anywhere from like a 1 to 6, 1 to 8, 1 to 10. Not too many companies make 1 to 10s, but it's in that power range. Right now, most people, when they see scopes on rifles, and I can see the confusion, is the objective or the end of it, the bell, that's close to the object is typically bigger than the diopter, which is closer to your eye. So when someone who was handed that, which I'm going to get into that in a little bit, they probably just mounted that dang sucker on there and called it good. I wouldn't be shocked if it's not even torqued down properly, or if it is, I'd be even more shocked that they torqued it down properly but yet mounted it backwards. So either way, going back into that is something that is very, very bad. So when I first noticed that, I was like, dang, what's up? The one good thing I will say is he had a good cheek weld. What he also didn't have was his eye relief. You don't ever want your eye that dang close to the diopter of a scope. It should be anywhere from 2 to 6 inches away. Some people obviously say it could be closer. It's however you want to do it. And clearly he wanted to do it that way, and he got fired. So I wanted to talk about that. This isn't a diss on that dude, although I'm definitely going to diss here and there. I'm going to throw some shade. I'm going to do all that. So a lot of people notice, if you notice, you see obviously brass throughout the image. And there's at least, what is it? How many do I see right here? I see 2 images of brass right above his the bill of his hat, right? You see there's two brass images. You can fire a rifle that fast, but he is actually on full auto. So if you look close enough to the safety selector, you can see that there's a dark line that's at the left of that circle. If it was in the front, it would be in semi. If it was in the very front pointing to the front, it would be in safe. If it was at the top, it would be in semi or burst mode. Not burst, see, I'm even looking like a clown. It would be in semi, and then if it was in the position it's in now, it would be in auto or burst. Now the Navy does not, from what I remember, does not have burst mode. So we shoot the M4 Alpha 1 or the M4 Alpha. We do shoot the M16, stuff like that, but this right here, looking at this image, this is an M4. Carbine length, 14.5. I can just tell by looking at it right now. It's got the standard, A2 grip, all that junk, right? This is just a bad image, right? You also see that there's somebody who has their hand, some dark-skinned person has their hand on the back of his right shoulder. One thing I do not like when I'm shooting any weapon system is having somebody else touch me intentionally. I get it if I'm in a firefight or I'm doing something with buddies and we're leaning against each other. People who want to do the buddy bipod, tripod, or stuff like that, shooting off of somebody's back or over their shoulder, that's one thing. But when you're actually shooting a handheld weapon like this and somebody's touching you, why? It makes no sense.
Nope.
But once again, he's shooting full auto, which tells me he probably has never done this before, and that's why there was somebody behind there. It was clearly for a photo op, which is the whole point. You always want to get, the commanding officer, the president, the CEO, the whoever's at the top of your leadership or your organization. You try and get them to do things that the normal people would do, which I'm going to get into that in a little bit. If I haven't lost you and you're still watching the video, go ahead and subscribe. So yeah, getting back into this this image alone, there is a different angle of this as well. This may be the same exact thing that I think I'm looking at, and it may be something totally different. I think this is still him. It kind of looks like him with everything just as jacked up as it was. The way he's holding this stuff still, just crazy. Now, I don't see anybody standing behind him, so I don't know if there was just an image of like, hey, shoot this, and we're gonna have fun with this photo op. We're gonna see what we can do with it. So kind of getting out of the image and getting into what I actually wanted to talk about. So yes, his scope is on backwards. His elbow is chicken winging like heck. It's not tucked in like it should be. You want to get that you don't want to be shooting out here where you're gonna get a lot more fatigue. So getting into that. Let's get into naval officers. So naval officers, or military officers in general, but naval officers specifically, do not serve in combative roles. The only ones that typically do, I'm not saying they all don't, majority don't. Majority of the military does not serve in a combat role whatsoever, or any role where they need to be armed. Watchstanding being armed is not the same as being combatively armed or operationally armed. So you're going to run into issues with that. So naval officers, specifically commanding officers of warships like that destroyer, the chances of him ever firing a weapon system like that, unless you do it on your own, professionally is zero. So people may come back and say, no, I had to shoot in the academy, but that does not count as operational necessity to why you need to shoot this rifle. So let's just talk about that just for a quick second. That officer had no business shooting that weapon other than the photo op, which eventually ended his career. So you're not instantly, out of the military, but there's no really coming back from that. You're always going to be known as the backwards scope dude. And I'm pretty sure there's somebody right now on YouTube who's going to make a video seeing how far you can actually hit a damn target with the scope mounted backwards, and that'll be the new hotness, all that other stuff. And if they haven't done it, you heard it here first. So yeah, he's a SWO. He's a surface warfare officer. He's not a naval special warfare officer. He's not a pilot or an aviator. He's not even a submariner, as far as I know, which, they can see some sort of combat, but it's all sub type stuff, right? I just am still shocked that it even happened. People were sending me this video, or this image, I'm sorry, and asking my take on it and the reasons why I think it looks stupid. First of all, did I think it was fake? No, it looks real, and it looks real dumb.
Got him!
So, yeah, let's get into that. I want to get into the person who's really who's at fault, but not on the image. Now, I'll also say there's a reason for that. When you're an officer and you want to be in a leadership position, you get shot first, right? If you see 10 normies standing around an officer in the military, the officer is the target, right? You wait for the person to salute. You wait for the person who's issuing orders and pointing out things for people to do. You seem like the person in charge. You're taking this bullet. You're a sniper's dream. So right now you are visually the sniper's dream, and the sniper is everybody on the internet who are taking shots at you. So right now, if we were to see who's really at fault, although the officer is definitely at fault, but the person who gave him that rifle, the person who took it out of the armory, the person who did everything, they all don't know what the hell they're doing.
Nope.
None of them. And now if they did this as some sort of joke, this joke backfired literally in his face. And I doubt that was something intentional, but let's talk about that. So in the Navy, we have ratings. Other branches of service, they call them MOSs, military occupational specialty. So whatever their MOS is, or the Navy rating, whatever your job description is, we're all sailors first, and then we may be corpsmen, or people who are in the medical field. You may be in aviation field. You may be in the surface Navy, which is what this ship is filled with. You have your NSW, your special operations and special operators and things of that nature. You have your submariners. We have different divisions within the military and the Navy. So we have these people called GMs, gunner's mates. They have always thought, and they still do to this day, essentially every time I've seen them, they always just watched the firearms, and then we went to take them out and shoot them, and then we gave them back. So they were the ones who locked up the guns, and that's about it. Have they ever shot? Yes. Can they shoot? That's a personal thing. I don't know too many GMs that were operational outside of people on expeditionary commands. But it was not in there, like, for me, and this is just me speaking, there was never a mission where we need a gunner's mate to do something outside of the previous generations of the military, where you did have SEALs and EOD techs and people like that who were source rates, gunner's mate being one of them. So you do have people who were gunner's mates who were actually in combat roles. Today's gunner's mate is not, unless they're attached to a combat or a specialty unit in the first place. You have your MAs, Master at Arms. This is going to go for all of these rates I'm saying. You have your MAAs, or Master at Arms. Those are our police officers for the Navy. We don't call them MPs. We just call them MAAs, or MAs for short. You have your FCs, which is your fire controlmen. And then you have your AOs, your aviation ordnancemen. All four of those ratings are people who specifically will go through schools called a SAMI school, Small Arms Marksmanship Instructor. Small arms are things like your service pistol and your service rifle, as well as your shotgun. Those people go, and now there's other rates that go through it. I've gone through it. But it's geared towards them. And they typically check out the firearms, lock up the firearms, but they don't really shoot them. You have to know how they work in order to properly do maintenance on them, stuff like that. But I've never seen them have to use it in a capacity, as I stated, for combative reasons. So those people go through schools, armorer schools, all their schools, where they learn how to, the function of these weapons, how to properly store them, safe handling, all that other junk. I don't see how a scope mounted, I mean, it happens. It's happened. I don't see how you put it on backwards. I really don't. Let's get into some more. Like the crane operator and people who, like I said earlier, torquing down specs and understanding, is this a first focal plane? Is it a second focal plane? What is even a focal plane? Whatever. I don't know what I don't know what you're doing right now. But these are things I think about. The gun community. I consider you right now watching this video that you're a part of the gun community. You either are watching me on YouTube because you are already subscribed to me, or you clicked in this video because you want to hear someone else's take on it. Maybe not. Maybe this is your first video even hearing about it. But this is still something crazy to me. I wrote down naval embarrassment. And the reason why I wrote down naval embarrassment is because the minute you say, oh, I'm going to join the Navy, this image right here, the damage is going to be done already. It already shows the lack of confidence in our leadership. But then you're going to sit there and say, I'm going to go maybe to NSW. I'm going to do something cool. And it's like your own commanders don't even know how to hold a rifle straight. You're not going to sell joining that branch like you're going to be some big badass dude when you guys don't even know how to hold rifles. Apparently there is a Marine page or image that went across the proper way to get a sight picture or hold a rifle or something like that. So they took a little jab at the Navy, and that's never going to stop. But hey, once again, like I said, the damage has been done no matter what you say. So yeah, me being a Navy SAMI and a Navy E-SAMI, which is an expeditionary or combat shooting instructor, it's real hard for me to even sell that, considering what this guy just did. And whoever was on the ship, who was in charge of their armory division, is essentially in that position. They were a SAMI. They might have gone through the E-SAMI course, but they definitely are a SAMI. And they're the ones who have to make sure whoever uses a weapon in any capacity, whether watch, standing, operational, that they have their minimum qualifications, that you shoot semi-annually, all that other stuff, and that you shoot the right course of fire, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'll tell you this right now, you do not get any expert or sharpshooter marksmanship ribbons by shooting an optic in the Navy. You have to shoot everything with iron sights only. Now, you can still use those things after you already qualify and get your ribbon. So there is an image of him in his dress uniform, Commander Cameron something. It's so blurry you can't even see if he even had the ribbon for a rifle, and that's probably a good thing, because you do not want to see an E on his rifle, and then this image is still, like I said, circulating the internet. It will never die.
Nope.
Excuse me. So yeah. This guy does not represent the entire Navy. He doesn't even represent the whole military. He does represent himself. He does represent his ship. He does represent the people who are not in the image to take the heat with him, which are those people who mounted the rifle, stored the rifle, took the rifle back out, function checked that rifle, and then gave it to that dude. So, and it could have been all the same person, maybe one or two people, but it still looks really bad on them. Because I get it. If I was a commander and I never had to see operational combat or any sort of combat, and hey, you want to take an image? Okay, cool. How do I hold this thing? Cool. And then now you're the clown of, social media when it comes to mounting a rifle with the scope backwards. And he's definitely looking through it. If you look on the image hard enough, he is trying to look through that scope, probably thinking, long range sucks, or this image sucks, or, why is it so far away? Whatever it may be. I have no clue what's going on in his head. But you can tell just based on the way he was looking at it, he doesn't shoot very often, like at all. So yeah, loss of confidence. I've heard of loss of confidence so many times. I've seen so many people online lose their command or leadership roles. I've had 6 that I can think of off the top of my head. I've had 6 commanding officers lose their leadership. 2 of them while I was under their leadership, and the other 4 that I can think of lost it during that command or after they moved to a secondary command where they either had a bigger role or something to that nature. But I knew them personally, shook their hands, flew with them, made jokes, laughed, talked, blah, 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 and boom, done. Loss of confidence. They have gone from everything on DUIs, alcohol-related incidences, fraternization. One of them was dang near murder, cover-up, it seemed like. So there's reasons for it, right? But most of the time we always say officers get away with murder, and one of them kind of did. So, well, at least that's what it feels like. And that's my point. This guy, I've even seen an officer get, and the XO, probably even the CMC, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely the XO and the commanding officer were both relieved for running over a whale back in like 2004, 2005. A dead whale at that, which is why it got ran over in the middle of the night during a normal CQ or carrier qualification detachment. You know, the lookout, port watch, starboard watch, all the people on the ship who were up and standing duty did not notice the big whale, ran it over or sailed over it. I don't know how you run over something in the water, but sailed over a whale. Obviously, it went underneath and got chewed up by the props of this carrier. They were relieved immediately. And I'm just like, dang, what was he supposed to do? He's sleeping in his quarters, but he got relieved for that. And so once again, your leadership obviously shows, or your lack of leadership is exactly why that happened. It even happened during COVID when, you know, the skipper of that strike group or that carrier was relieved based on his response to COVID. When, you know, no one knew what to do. Anybody who was him would have been fired. Didn't matter. Fill in the blank. It was going to be, you were going to get fired because you didn't fit the social media pressure, or no, you know, social media didn't go through all the schools you did. But whatever. So please tell me in the comment section, do you think this is absolutely, is it a small mistake? Do you think it's a major mistake? Do you think it's absolutely hilarious? Or do you think there's nothing to see here? Haha, laugh it off, keep it moving. I really got to know. And if you don't answer, I get it. I get it. But yeah, that's my quick video for the day. I definitely wanted to talk about that. I love AR type rifles, and it sucks that I'm also a Navy vet who loves that type of rifle. And sure enough, I had one of our own misrepresent not only himself, but the branch that I served in for 22 years. I have right here a video of one of my firearms with a 1 to, what is it, 1 to 6? I think this is my 1 to 6. Let me see. Sure it is. This is my 1 to 6 first focal plane scope from Primary Arms. But if you can see right here, this is what I mean by objective. The objective is the one that's closest to the object when you're aiming the firearm. The diopter, or the part where you can go ahead and adjust your eye setting and eye relief, you want it anywhere from 2 to 6 inches away. This is my point. It is smaller here and bigger bell in the back. And for some people that looks completely backwards. When I first saw an LPVO, I thought it was backwards. I genuinely thought it was on backwards. But you take it out of the box and you look at it, you realize real fast it's not. And I think that's the problem of that image, is initially when you look at it, you don't see much until you notice it, you know, fairly quick. You see his elbow shooting out like this, but then you're like, wait, that's pretty bad, but what's up with your scope? That's even worse. And then some people will even say just how close his eye was. You have somebody who's holding on to your shoulder, which means you can't naturally flex or recoil back. So if you have it too close and you pull the trigger, especially going full auto, you're just going to hit yourself in the face. Thank God he had his eye protection on, or his sunglasses, still eye pro, to prevent that. That video could have gone, or not video, that image could have gone horribly wrong. And if so, it would have never made it to social media the way it did. But it did. So either way, we got to deal with it right now. This isn't me trying to do damage control. This is me just talking about the video. It's very interesting that it even came out, let alone in the way it did. So yeah, that's it. Either way, let me know what you guys think. Put your comments down in the comment section below. This is Darian, and I'm out. Peace.
Got him!